there's two times that I cried in the woods, and that one right there is one of them, and of course that one. So, but
I was talking to you earlier today about maybe going over a few bucks that you killed. You were lucky enough to shoot the I googled it today. What did the Google tell me? The Alabama public land non-typical record, right?
right,
Your
yeah,
name's still on there. You still got it.
yeah. It's this year will be the fourth year, I guess. So it's been 4 years. Yeah, it's a non-typical muzzleloader buck, 196 and 3/8 inches, state record. So I actually had some history with him on camera. So and that's probably I guess a cool accomplishment. Maybe it's hard for me to say it's my proudest accomplishment because if you can see that one right there, we'll talk about him in a little bit. I mean, there's two times that I cried in the woods, and that one right there is one of them, and of course that one. So, but it's I had him on camera at 4.5, and it was associated with a creek crossing, and I had daylight pictures at a certain week, and then the next season, I mean, he had all his non-typical stuff, and then, again, I don't mess with them cameras much. So the next season, I hunted there and missed him by one day, and he'd had the big frame, but he had lost some of the stickers because the first year I had pictures of him, he was skinny in February. He looked like he had a rough rut or something, but so, well, the next season, I stayed completely out of the area until November. The same, I mean, 2 years in a row, he was in the same spot, same week, daylight. So I waited till that week to go down there, and we'll talk about some other deer. And I had a goal. I'd already killed a buck and buck matchers, that's a record buck, and then with a gun, and then one with a bow, and so I was going to start toting my muzzleloader year round, and I started that season trying to get one record book with muzzleloader. That was my goal that year. So that I waited till that muzzleloader hunt, and I only had one day because the way I worked. But every gun hunt they had, I was going to tote that muzzleloader, and I'd also got a crossbow that I was going to carry because when them leaves get off, I said, well, where he was at, it was hard for a bow. So I could probably do it, maybe be able to do it with a crossbow. So I got one just for that case. Well, anyway, I snuck down there. Me and my wife did on that last day of the muzzleloader hunt, and at 9:40 or something, I seen this year was one of them years we had acorns everywhere. You could walk through a pine thicket and step on acorns. It's crazy. They were just wild oaks were everywhere. So had a 7 point that any other year I might have well shot with muzzleloader. He was nice, big body, come by 25 yards or so, eating acorns, messing around. Kind of thought it was odd for that time of the day, for early November. They've already, a little bit of pressure has been on. So, well, about 10 minutes later, he'd done gone by, and something caught me out of the corner of my eye. I seen this big old frame coming, and it was still a green season right then. That bunch of leaves were green. He walked behind a tree. All I could see was his rear end, but I knew that thing side was big. So I just got propped up that muzzleloader and waited, and it seemed like it took forever. But he stepped out, and I put it behind his shoulder. He's kind of quartering away a little bit, shot. Smoke rolled, seen the mule kick. I waited a while. Then, long story short, he didn't go far and was piled up. And man, I knew when I was seeing that on one side sticking up all them stickers. That one I had on camera, and he looked like. I mean, I always underestimate them when I was thinking that sucker's 170 something, and that was like my goal. If I could kill him around the 170, I'd be, my life would be complete. I was thinking, especially on public land, Alabama. I said he's 170, and I'm crying, looking at videos and stuff, but it's just amazing for me because I've only killed a couple that I've had on camera, and it's hard most of the time when I kill one on camera. There'd been 5 other ones on it the year before, or even that season, just as big or whatever, and they just come out of the woodwork. It seems in these spots, and that's why I like them spots. I don't really try to key in on one buck, but that played out. So, and then and here we go, the history of a marriage right there. I call him Mr. Majestic because he's got everything but a daggum drop time. But that mean,
Yeah.
just a beautiful buck. It's amazing how they can get by people and grow something like that in 6 years. They said it was 6.5, and it's especially down here in the South. So I'm proud of it. So
Was he pretty tight? Did he like what kind of where was he at in terrain wise, and what kind of property was it?
It was some hilly stuff. It was some elevation changes of like 500 to 600 foot. Some real aggressive bluff stuff around. So, but the nobody had one guy said he had pictures of him, but he never produced them. So, and nobody else, that big one with the bow, that guy had several pictures sent to me of him from he was about 3 or 4 miles away, but nobody ever sent me any pictures of that one. So he was hanging in like a half. I had two cameras that were half a mile or so apart, maybe 3/4 mile. I'd have him on them two cameras, and and most of them was me like in velvet on one, and then the hard horns on that in that spot. So, and he's
Hmm.
always that little buck. He's always, which wasn't a little buck. Them two of the 3 years, he's always hanging on that dude. So it's kind of cool. So, but I've
Yeah.
never seen that buck again. So I don't know what happened to him. So
Oh, I'm sure something happened to him.
yeah, he probably got shot.